We often think of obesity as simply having too much body fat. However, this is a vast oversimplification. Obesity is a complex chronic disease with far-reaching consequences. One of its most insidious aspects is its connection to inflammation, a process that, while crucial for healing, can wreak havoc when chronically activated. This essay delves into the intricate relationship between obesity and inflammation, exploring how this interplay contributes to a cascade of health problems. Inflammation is the body's natural defense mechanism against injury or infection. When triggered, our immune system dispatches white blood cells and releases signaling molecules called cytokines to the affected area. This localized response is typically short-lived and beneficial, aiding in repair and resolution. However, in the context of obesity, this protective response goes awry, leading to a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation. This persistent inflammation, unlike its acute counterpart, doesn't sound alarm bells with visible symptoms like redness and swelling. Instead, it silently chips away at our health, increasing the risk of various diseases. This chronic inflammatory state is intricately linked to the expansion of adipose tissue, more commonly known as fat. While we often view fat as an inert storage depot for excess calories, it's far from passive. Adipose tissue is a dynamic organ that actively secretes hormones and inflammatory mediators, directly influencing metabolic processes throughout the body. As we accumulate excess fat, particularly visceral fat around our abdominal organs, this metabolically active tissue releases a torrent of inflammatory molecules into our bloodstream, setting the stage for a host of health problems. Adipose tissue, often perceived as a passive reservoir for excess energy, is in reality a dynamic endocrine organ that plays a pivotal role in regulating metabolism and energy balance. It secretes a variety of hormones, cytokines, and other signaling molecules that exert systemic effects on various tissues and organs. When maintained within a healthy range, adipose tissue contributes to overall metabolic homeostasis. However, obesity disrupts this delicate balance, transforming adipose tissue from a beneficial regulator into a potent source of inflammation. As we gain weight, our adipose tissue expands, leading to hypertrophy, an increase in the size of existing fat cells. This expansion, particularly in the visceral fat depots surrounding our abdominal organs, triggers a cascade of cellular stress responses. These stressed fat cells become dysfunctional, secreting excessive amounts of inflammatory mediators, including cytokines like TNF-alpha and IL-6, into the bloodstream. This chronic overproduction of inflammatory cytokines disrupts the body's normal metabolic processes, contributing to insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, and other obesity-related health problems. Moreover, the expanding adipose tissue in obesity undergoes a process called hypoxia, meaning it receives insufficient oxygen supply. This oxygen deprivation further exacerbates inflammation by activating specific signaling pathways that promote the production of inflammatory cytokines. This vicious cycle of expanding fat cells, hypoxia, and chronic inflammation creates a hostile environment within our bodies, setting the stage for a multitude of health complications. Understanding the dynamic nature of adipose tissue and its role in obesity-induced inflammation is crucial for developing effective strategies to combat this global health challenge. Cytokines are the messengers of our immune system, playing a critical role in regulating inflammation. These small proteins act as signaling molecules, directing immune cells to sites of injury or infection and orchestrating the body's response. In a healthy scenario, cytokine production is tightly regulated, ensuring a measured and localized inflammatory response. However, obesity disrupts this delicate cytokine balance, tipping the scales towards a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation. As adipose tissue expands in obesity, it becomes a hotbed for cytokine production. The stressed and dysfunctional fat cells churn out excessive amounts of pro-inflammatory cytokines, including TNF-alpha, IL-6, and others. These cytokines enter the bloodstream, acting like hormones, and exert their effects on distant tissues and organs. This systemic spread of inflammation disrupts normal metabolic processes, contributing to a wide range of health problems. Imagine a fire alarm system designed to alert us to danger. A small controlled fire triggers a localized alarm, summoning firefighters to extinguish it quickly. Similarly, acute inflammation is a localized controlled response to injury or infection. However, in obesity, it's as if the fire alarm system is stuck on high alert, constantly blaring sirens despite no immediate danger. This chronic low-grade inflammation, fueled by excess cytokines, creates a state of constant alert within our bodies, leading to collateral damage and long-term health consequences. Among the plethora of cytokines involved in inflammation, TNF-alpha, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and IL-6, interleukin-6, stand out as key players in obesity-related inflammation. These pro-inflammatory cytokines are produced in abundance by adipose tissue and immune cells within the obese microenvironment, wreaking havoc on metabolic health. Understanding the roles of TNF-alpha and IL-6 is crucial for grasping the intricate link between obesity and chronic diseases. TNF-alpha, as its name suggests, was initially identified for its role in killing tumor cells. However, it has since been recognized as a central mediator of inflammation, contributing to various aspects of metabolic dysfunction. In obesity, elevated TNF-alpha levels interfere with insulin signaling, leading to insulin resistance, a hallmark of type 2 diabetes. This means our cells become less responsive to insulin, the hormone responsible for regulating blood sugar levels. Consequently, our pancreas has to produce more insulin to compensate, leading to a state of hyperinsulinemia, which further exacerbates inflammation and contributes to a vicious cycle. IL-6, another prominent pro-inflammatory cytokine, also plays a significant role in obesity-related inflammation. Elevated IL-6 levels are linked to an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, a leading cause of death worldwide. IL-6 promotes inflammation in the walls of blood vessels, contributing to the development of atherosclerosis, a condition where plaque builds up inside arteries, narrowing them and increasing the risk of heart attacks and strokes. By understanding the detrimental roles of TNF-alpha and IL-6, researchers aim to develop targeted therapies to interrupt these inflammatory pathways, potentially mitigating the health risks associated with obesity. Chronic inflammation, unlike its acute counterpart, doesn't announce its presence with obvious signs like pain, redness, or swelling. Instead, it operates silently, like a slow burn, progressively damaging tissues and organs over time. This insidious process, fueled by obesity and the relentless production of inflammatory cytokines, underpins the development of various chronic diseases, making it a major public health concern. One of the most well-established links between chronic inflammation and disease is in the context of cardiovascular disease. The inflammatory cascade triggered by obesity damages the lining of blood vessels, making them more susceptible to plaque buildup. This process, known as atherosclerosis, narrows arteries, restricting blood flow and increasing the risk of heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular events. Furthermore, chronic inflammation contributes to insulin resistance, a key driver of type 2 diabetes. Beyond cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes, chronic inflammation is implicated in a wide range of other health problems, including certain types of cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and autoimmune disorders. The persistent presence of inflammatory cytokines disrupts normal cellular processes, promotes oxidative stress, and contributes to DNA damage, all of which can contribute to the development and progression of these diseases. Therefore, addressing chronic inflammation is crucial for not only managing obesity, but also for preventing and treating a multitude of chronic health conditions. The link between obesity, inflammation, and chronic disease is not merely a scientific concept confined to research labs. It plays out daily in the lives of millions worldwide, contributing to a silent epidemic of preventable health problems. Consider Sarah, a middle-aged woman struggling with obesity and its consequences. She leads a sedentary lifestyle, often consuming processed foods high in sugar and unhealthy fats. Unbeknownst to her, this lifestyle fuels a chronic inflammatory state within her body, setting the stage for future health issues. As Sarah's weight increases, so does the size of her fat cells. particularly the visceral fat around her abdominal organs. These stressed fat cells release a steady stream of inflammatory cytokines into her bloodstream, silently damaging her blood vessels and interfering with her body's ability to regulate blood sugar. Over time, Sarah develops insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes, and her risk of cardiovascular disease skyrockets. Sarah's story is not unique. The consequences of chronic inflammation are widespread, impacting individuals of all ages and backgrounds. From joint pain and arthritis to fatty liver disease and even certain types of cancer, inflammation's reach extends far and wide. Recognizing the pervasive influence of inflammation on our health is crucial for prompting lifestyle changes and early interventions that can mitigate these risks. While the link between obesity, inflammation, and chronic disease paints a concerning picture, there is hope. Lifestyle interventions, particularly focusing on diet and exercise, can effectively combat inflammation, reduce disease risk, and improve overall health. By making conscious choices about what we eat and how we move, we can break the vicious cycle of inflammation and regain control of our metabolic health. One of the most impactful lifestyle changes for reducing inflammation is adopting a diet rich in whole, unprocessed foods. This means filling our plates with colorful fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats. These foods are packed with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds that combat oxidative stress and dampen the inflammatory cascade. Conversely, processed foods laden with sugar, unhealthy fats, and artificial ingredients contribute to inflammation, exacerbating the problem. Regular physical activity is another cornerstone of inflammation reduction. Exercise, even moderate intensity activities like brisk walking or cycling, has profound anti-inflammatory effects. It helps improve insulin sensitivity, reduces stress, and promotes the release of anti-inflammatory molecules, counteracting the pro-inflammatory state associated with obesity. By embracing a holistic approach to lifestyle modification, encompassing both diet and exercise, we can effectively combat inflammation and pave the way for a healthier future. While lifestyle interventions remain the first line of defense against obesity-related inflammation, researchers are actively exploring novel therapies that target inflammation at its source, offering hope for more effective treatment options in the future. These cutting-edge approaches aim to interrupt the inflammatory cascade, reduce cytokine production, and mitigate the downstream consequences of chronic inflammation. One promising avenue of research focuses on developing drugs that block the action of specific inflammatory cytokines, such as TNF-alpha and IL-6. By inhibiting these key players in the inflammatory cascade, researchers hope to disrupt the signaling pathways that lead to insulin resistance, atherosclerosis, and other chronic diseases. Clinical trials are underway to evaluate the safety and efficacy of these cytokine-blocking therapies, with the potential to revolutionize the treatment of obesity-related inflammation. Another area of exploration involves harnessing the power of the body's natural anti-inflammatory mechanisms. Researchers are investigating ways to boost the production of specialized pro-resolving mediators, molecules that actively dampen inflammation and promote tissue repair. These pro-resolving mediators represent a potential therapeutic target for restoring the balance between pro- and anti-inflammatory signals, offering a more nuanced approach to inflammation management. As our understanding of the intricate relationship between obesity and inflammation deepens, so too will our ability to develop targeted therapies that effectively combat this global health challenge.